So he got those messages like right away. But he didn't really tell me that that was such a strong voice in these group chats and in those
Mhm.
conversations until like a couple days after we got back. Like I didn't know that that's what he was internally struggling with in the beginning. I would consider it a situationship because I think if it were a situationship, it would be a like, oh, do we want to be together or not be together? And like we weren't having those conversations. He knew that I was having conversations with casting the entire time that we
Mm.
were talking. And I remember him saying like, yeah, like we don't need to take this very seriously. So we were friends with benefits, which again, I remember explaining this like on camera and being like, my boss watches this show, my Nona watches this show, like my entire sexual history is gonna be aired for national television. And like that's embarrassing for me, but I remember being like, I don't know. That was a whole other thing that I wasn't fully prepared to do. I mean, when Dave and I are working through this, I genuinely was so torn on who was in the right. Like I knew my truth and I was trying to understand Dave's perspective too. And like obviously you see that a lot because I give him a lot of grace.
Mhm.
But I was so just like in my head, I'm like, am I the one that's morally wrong looking at this? And I just am not seeing it. And it is very comforting to have the world be like, no, like you did nothing wrong. This is not a reflection of my inability to navigate a serious relationship. If anything, I think it gives me more credit that I can navigate relationships. Really good question. And I remember like I was perspective taking with him in that because I was like, that would suck. I would hate the fact, like, I would hate that if I had to see them in our living space or even know that these conversations were happening. And I remember understanding why Dave was listening to his people and wanting their opinion on it. And that really wasn't what I was faulting him. Like, he was allowed to make judgments about the person that he just met and hearing conflicting opinions about his friends. It was just simply the fact that I wasn't part of any of the conversations that was where my main frustration is coming from.